So, here I am again, for the 5th time with the Mursi, in my tent, wondering why I've done this to myself all over again. I suppose because of various ways, coming back here over more than 25 years to southern Ethiopia to be with the Mursi people has become the most absorbing business of my life.
I'm really here because of David Turton, still, as ever, working away while I call it a day. He's an anthropologist who has lived and worked with the Mursi since 1968. He speaks their language and has their trust. Without him, I'd never have known the Mursi. We've made 5 films with the Mursi since 1974. For me, that has meant an encounter with another way of living. When we showed the Mursi some of the films in the mid-80s, they said, "What are they for? You can't eat them, and you can't tie your bull up with them." One man thought they might help his kids to understand how they used to live. And the films do record something of the Mursi's lives over 3 hard decades of war and hunger and change. The 6,000 Mursi live in the far southwest of Ethiopia, in a remote area about the size of the Lake District. For centuries, they maintained an independent way of life, herding their cattle and surviving against tough odds. They were also feared warriors, ceaselessly at war with their neighbours. Through all their hardships, the Mursi held on to a fierce pride in being Mursi. Now we were coming back at a moment when that pride was being challenged as never before. It's 10 years now since I last came here. For David Turton, this is home ground. He's been coming back here regularly over the years. For me, the first contact with the Mursi this time is a shock. Decorated to attract tourists and their money, they look like no Mursi I've ever seen. It was a first glimpse of a people struggling to deal with forces which threaten their most basic sense of who they are. Soon we were to become aware of a more menacing issue, a crisis which was compelling the Mursi to recognize the daunting power over their lives of the world beyond their horizon. As we arrived in Mursi country, we began to hear a story of murder and reprisal. Over the weeks of filming, it was to become the central theme of our time with the Mursi. For one family, the crisis began with a personal tragedy. Kirinomeri, his son Uligidangi and grandson Ulikoro have terrible memories of what happened one night 2 years ago. The child had gone with his mother to a highland market to buy food.